Hello everyone, this is the Vintage Card Voyage. I'm Ken.
I'm Mark.
And today we're going to talk about a topic that I think perhaps other people are wondering about. We are planning on going to the other side of the table to become a dealer at some shows, local shows. So we're naturally thinking about what it takes to prepare for that. And I'm hoping that we get some great advice from some of you out there that have been doing this. I have done dealers, I've been a dealer at tables, but when I was in college, so that's 35 years ago.
Right, and I've never done it.
Back in Michigan. And I was telling Mark that some of the things are very different, but some of the things are exactly the same. In fact, the table setup is exactly the same.
Right, 8-foot tables or whatever.
Yeah. And everybody has glass display cabinets.
Right.
And there's dollar bins, or back in the day there were quarter bins.
Right.
Yeah, so some of it is exactly the same, but some of it's very different.
Yeah.
So I guess the first question for both of us is what should we bring? And I think we know some of it. I know glass display cabinet is a good idea. I know from the past I would bring a chair, because you can't assume that they're going to have chairs for you.
Right.
And you're pretty much bringing the stuff that you want to sell. I know some people will bring things that they're not sure they're going to sell, but I've always disliked it when dealers say, "Oh, I'm not sure I'm selling that."
Right, it's like a museum for them, like displaying something.
Right.
I've heard you want to bring like a dolly or something to move if you have a lot of, boxes or whatever that you're bringing. I'm thinking like a selection of graded cards to put in the display case, selection of just cards in top loaders, whatever, and then probably a dollar box or maybe a quarter box. I don't know. I don't see too many quarter boxes these days, but maybe I don't know.
Maybe we can bring that back.
Exactly.
Yeah, for kids.
Right.
The other thing that I know from doing it in the past is you want to have something unique. Unique in your glass display cabinet.
Right.
Again, this is going to date me, but back in the day when I did it, we would go to Denny's, me and my friends who did it, and we would load up on Denny's, what were they called? Grand Slam holograms.
Right.
And if you put them in the display cabinet in the right angle, they would shine off the light. And so we would sell those out.
Interesting.
Those were really quick sells.
Okay.
So I don't know what the parallel is right now for something like that.
Yeah, no idea. Or just something that people don't see that often, really. I have a bunch of Slurpee coins, for instance, from the 80s. And so I don't know that those get sold that often, so.
That would probably be pretty unique today. Yeah. So, I think you're spot on. It's like singles, graded singles. I guess that's changed, in 35 years for sure. It's like most of the stuff you see in cabinets is graded.
Right.
What about sets? Do you see that very much? Do you think that's something we'd bring?
I mean, so in another video, which may have already happened or will happen later, I bought a set of the 1975 Topps Mini at from a dealer, and I do definitely see. It depends on the dealer, obviously, but some bring those, the box sets, that haven't even been opened yet, kind of thing, But that's mostly I think late 80s, early 90s kind of thing. And so no one's really buying those. They're just trying to find some person who sucker, as it were, or whatever.
I'll tell you one thing I won't bring, because this is a pet peeve of mine at card shows. Those little boxes of traded cards or add-on sets.
Right,
you see,
the upper deck.
Yes, and that you see them, we're going to see them for the rest of our lives. Right. And they sit on tables, these dealer tables, and they're usually in quantities of 15, 20 of them, and I don't think they ever sell.
Or a Woolworth set or a Kmart or whatever, the little boxes.
The little box sets seem to never sell because I see them all the time.
Right. Yeah. So that's something to avoid probably. But I think generally speaking, aren't that many sets probably.
Yeah. So the next question is, should we price or not price? Because you see it both ways. There's some dealers that don't have any pricing in their display cabinets. Others have the price. I'll say that I always appreciate when there are prices.
Right.
And I'm going to try to go through the effort of pricing everything that I put on our table.
Yeah.
And I just think the transparency, it gets to a quicker transaction.
Yeah.
And then also it sets the table, because if you don't have a price, you're gonna get people just offering like really low, embarrassing prices.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously going to be negotiating that happens, but you want to have at least set like a baseline of like where you're at with it and where you know are able to go. I think too, also like even if you're going to do like a dollar box or like, so I've seen somewhere that's like there's like a dollar box, but it's also $5, and it depends on like the color of the sticker on the penny sleeve or something, and so that's an option, and you know it's obviously to prevent people like from swapping things around and trying to get a deal or whatever. So yeah, but I think I probably will also do like pricing, because it just makes sense, and like you want to go in knowing where you're at with everything.
Right, you want to do your homework ahead of time.
Yeah.
And I know I've heard this from another video I saw where it's like the last thing you want to do is be looking at comps on your phone.
Right.
When there's people going by your table.
I mean, and admittedly too, I get the sense that most of the stuff that we're going to try to sell, I don't know that, but like it's going to be mostly like vintage or like, you know, maybe junk wax era, like stuff that's not moving much as far as like price goes. Whereas modern, you'd have to know what's going on day by day, because things kind of shift a lot. So.
For sure. So the next topic is which show we go to. Naturally, it would be somewhere in the peninsula or San Francisco or San Jose.
Right. Or further out if we want to go to something like there's Fairfield, there's Sacramento that has like, I feel like has like a higher percentage of vintage.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to do like something where there's more vintage, then we do that. Or if you want to be that table that stands out because you're the only vintage in a way. Like it's a good question.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about the San Francisco card show, because that's the one I went to most recently, and there was a dearth of vintage. So the question is that because vintage dealers have gone there and nobody comes?
Right.
Or is it an opportunity?
Right.
So I don't know the answer to that. If somebody else out there knows, that'd be great.
It's a good question. Yeah, I'm not really sure. It's just a test. You could test the market, I guess, and see what happens.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So we will go somewhere within driving distance, I
presumably,
think,
yeah.
before you hit some of the big shows.
It'll be a little while till we go to like a Burbank or a Dallas or something.
We're not at that level.
No.
Yet, so. And then a question of what inventory. Obviously, we're not going to all of a sudden buy a whole bunch of things to put in our display cabinets.
Right.
So for us, it's going to be mostly vintage. But is there other inventory? And have you thought about, you know, baseball, basketball, football, anything in terms of?
It's a good question. I mean, I have hockey. I have like non-sport stuff like Marvel and things of that nature that like. I know I personally like don't collect them. I just happen to get them when I bought like a larger collection, and so that might be something I want to get rid of now. And so maybe I want to do that to kind of like, again, draw different people to the table, because if you just have sports, you're going to eliminate a certain selection of people. I mean, my son has Pokemon. I don't. I'm not going to sell his stuff unless he really wants me to, which I don't think he does.
And I have a little bit of Pokemon from a nephew, so and my son, so there's some that I could put on the table, but nowhere near the level that like some dealers are just Pokemon.
Right, so. Exactly. So you're not going to want to put like a little bit versus what you have percentage wise, probably, or like people whatever.
And I know like there's also the question of what do you put in the glass display cabinet versus not.
Right.
And for me, I think the level would be like $40 or $50 goes in. And then less outside.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I've seen some dealers where they just have boxes and boxes of just like of slabs. Like that's all they have. And they don't have a display case. They just have the boxes. And so, yeah, I don't know. I would think mostly just slabs go in the display cases with some maybe like top loaders or whatever. So
I think so. I can already see our table coming together now. Okay, last question is, what are your expectations going in?
I mean, because I think we're going to be sharing a table, that'll cut down costs as far as like the table, rental or what have you. And so that'll ideally mean higher likelihood of profit, but I just am doing it as a test case of like, see how this goes. It'll be fun to do it on that side of the table, and kind of like what that dynamic is like will be interesting to kind of see. So yeah, I'm not really, again, if I make some money, great, but it's more about like, I think just experience and like, hanging out.
Yeah. And for me, I mean, I sell on eBay. So to me, I think of it doing a show as an accelerated version of eBay.
Right.
Because on eBay, can't tell if somebody's in front of me. So it's an accelerated version and also like a high fidelity. I actually can have a conversation with somebody who might be interested in a car.
Right.
Versus now on eBay, you can see people watching the car. That's about it.
Right. Yeah.
You can make an offer, but it's very not very satisfying to just be doing it online. So I hope I get to meet people also in the community, and my expectations are to have fun first.
Yeah.
And then maybe we make some money.
Yeah, and I think also for me personally, like working on my negotiating skills also I think will be helpful, because I'm usually coming in from the other side of the table, whatever, and so like just having to, I know there's going to be a lot of negotiating going on. So.
Yeah, and then also thinking of it like I go to a lot of shows and I can see everything that's on the tables, but now we'll be able to see the stuff that's in people's backpacks,
right,
or in cases. So I hope to see more things because we're on that side of the table.
Right, opportunities to buy things you wouldn't otherwise be able to, or trade for, or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, anyways, if you have other things that we should be prepared for, please share it with us. But hopefully we make it out there to a show soon.
Yeah, next few months maybe.
Yeah.
So.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks everyone.